What up?
Hey! Yo, Secret House against Tokyo-based hip-hop art and culture conversations, underground, independent, abstract, avant-garde, experimental hip-hop type of discussions. Not really reviews, kind of non-reviews. We mostly just talk about what we think about the music, but I guess that's basically a review. We don't do numbers.
Well, I feel like a lot of people in our comments have made the observation that we're kind of like a book club for rap at this point. Well, people like to go listen to the record and then see what we have to say about it. You know, measure up their thoughts on it with what we have to say.
Word up. No doubt. And of course, obviously, we do place an emphasis on getting the theory in some things, but not necessarily all music denotes a conversation about Pan-African socialism, Marxism, capitalism, or any of those deeper themes that you might get if you pay attention to critical theory. But, you know, we're back again to talk about one of my favorite artists over the last almost decade, I guess, Mike and his collaborative project with Tony Seltzer.
Yeah.
It's called Pinball. It just dropped the other day. It was a surprise release, 11 songs, 21 minutes. At this point, you know, Mike is one of the current kings of the underground stuff. He's managed to create a large organic following and has influenced a lot of cats with his unique approach, vocal tone, and talent as an MC. Also his production. He's a prolific artist, typically putting out at least an album of the year album every year, along with a collaborative project of sorts and several features. And he's done this with his own imprint, which is what, 10K? Is that what they call it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's putting it down for hip hop, and he's also created a space and a lane for other artists who are dope. I think Noname is on that imprint, or has at least released music on that. But yeah, another project from Mike, and I think this one's a little bit different.
Absolutely.
We know Mike. Go back. Disco was my album of the year. It dropped. I also enjoyed Burning Desire and Beware of the Monkey. I felt kind of a way about Beware of the Monkey because it dropped at the end of the year and it missed a lot of people's end of the year list, and then we kind of forgot about it because Burning Desire came out before the end of the year again. But yeah,
and Faith is a Rock, of course, came out last year as well with Wiki.
Yeah, and Al. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, normally, if we're reviewing an artist for the first time, we like to talk about how we know the artist. Of course, we've reviewed Mike on this channel before, so check those out. But as for Tony Seltzer, I am only familiar with him through his album with Wiki he put out right at the end of last year, maybe November, 14K Figaro.
Okay.
And yeah, I think Tony Seltzer is ill, but this is my first, I mean, not my first, but this is the first time I'm really getting a feel for his production style and the vibe that he's bringing.
I would say that this is kind of my first introduction to him, just because even though I peeped that Wiki album, the way we do this, I kind of feel like if I don't sit with an album, really think about it, I kind of feel like I'm not really thinking about the artist that much, just because we go through so much music. It's I'll listen to the Wiki album twice and maybe find one song I'm like, word, but I haven't really thought about Tony's approach or listen to his wider catalog. So for me, I would say that this is really my first time getting into him in his work.
I do appreciate this kind of completes the triangle of those three artists, though, because obviously Mike and Wiki put out an album together last year, Wiki and Tony Seltzer put out an album last year, and now Mike and Tony Seltzer are putting out an album.
True that, yeah.
And given the differentiation in styles and kind of what I think really makes this album notable, and we'll get into it, is the fact that when I listened to the 14K Figaro joint, I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense to me. Wiki fits this style very well. Right. I couldn't have really imagined Mike rapping over this kind of production until I listened to Pinball.
Sure. I get that too. Wiki kind of lends himself a little bit to a different lens of a New Yorker style. And I don't think Mike is a New Yorker like that, but he's lived in New York for a long time, and like he says, he could show you around the place. But Wiki does have that kind of throwback, poppy wardrobe king, kind of rocking you know what I mean, polo, low gear type of mentality. And also he leans a little bit more into the goon maneuvers when he's talking about women or things. Even though Mike gets into that, Mike is also well known for being a little bit more introspective and also deeply soulful and black in his kind of representation. But I guess we might as well just get into the album with that said then. So
you're obviously a massive Mike fan.
Yeah,
and
big fan.
I think a lot of our listeners, like a lot of the people who watch this channel, are also big Mike fans. And a lot of people in our orbit as well are big Mike fans. Shouts out MJ the Sensei, A Valley, like, some of the Tokyo MCs out here. I'm kind of late I was kind of late to the bus on this one.
You said Burning Desire was
Burning
the one
Desire
that
was the one that kind of pushed me over. Like, I'd listen to Disco, I'd listen to Beware of the Monkey, I'd listen to the Wiki out of Faith is a Rock. And I was kind of like, yeah, this guy's dope. Like, I really enjoy Mike's work, but I couldn't, like, tell you my favorite Mike song prior to Burning Desire. And something kind of clicked at this point. So this record is, like, probably, I might say, like, his most accessible work, at least to, like, a more mainstream audience. Yeah. And it's also 20 minutes long. It's very short. It's a very breezy listen. So I think, if you're like me, who's always been, like, not necessarily on the fence, I was definitely always more positive towards Mike than negative, but you're looking for someone who, you're looking for an introduction to the artist that gives you an idea of, like, what's dope about him, while also being a little bit more straightforward, a little bit easier to enjoy on a strictly sonic level without having to, like, go deep on the bars. Like, this is probably a really solid intro.
Yeah, word. I feel you. Like, one of the biggest differences about this album is that it sounds a little bit more trappy and conventional in sound than a lot of his other work, which can be challenging, and also leaned into unique different production varieties that some of which he, honed and crafted himself. Like, one of my favorite Mike tracks is Never Knocked, and to me that beat is wild, and I'm not quite sure I've heard a very, like, a singular artist like Mike. Yeah. Well, I've never heard anybody else really do that except for people influenced by that song, trying to make songs that sound kind of sonically similar to that. But yeah, this is very trappy on the first listen. And I was starting to think, like, as I saw people discussing in the Rap Music Plug podcast Discord, and I saw other people in our shit say, wow, this is trappy. The first song does definitely come across like that. And I started to think, like, oh, this is kind of like, it reminds me a little bit about like Ghostface Bulletproof Wallets moment back in the early 2000s, where after his kind of magnum opus Supreme Clientele, he kind of leaned into a more, like, crossover accessible type of sound that was ultimately still odd, and in his catalog now doesn't really sound as much as an outlier is like Emerald Wizard or whatever, you know what I mean? Right, the R&B albums. But then I realized, I don't think I realized, but then I started to feel like Mike has always put himself in a variety of black music vibes. One of the first songs I heard from him was Pigeon Feed, and at the end of that is also kind of a housey electronica beat that just goes on for about a minute. And if you know anything about house, like, house is a black music genre, and
a close relative of hip hop sonically as well.
Indeed, and like, Mike also, and shout out to the LGBTQ community, which was really, like, putting it down for house. That's the revenge of disco and all these things. Shout out to my man Brooklyn Terry. But Mike also leans into, like, a lot of black cultural touchstones of, like, American sound, always putting his unique spin on it, but more often you see it as his adoration for, like, R&B, or even on Beware the Monkey, you have the Sister Nancy, which is clearly a Caribbean reggae roots type of sound, and also the soul. But the trappy approach seems a little bit more jarring because where it sits right now in popularity as the kind of primary
de facto mainstream form of hip hop, as, like, snappy southern stuff was 15 years ago. Indeed.
And so, but some of these songs also do sound to me, it's not like Mike over Metro Boomin.
Mike doing, what I mean? A Lil Uzi album.
Some of the songs like Skur sound like pretty typical Mike to me in a way, but overall I don't think this is really off the beaten path for Mike. It's a different look and I welcome it, and I kind of feel like I've felt that way about Mike the whole time. Like Ipari Park that starts off with Klein, that shit don't sound like nothing off of War in My Pen like that. It don't sound like nothing off of, Renaissance Man or nothing, and it's different, and I like that about Mike. And one of the things that I kind of felt about this album is that it feels a little bit more joyful and celebratory than a lot of his other work
and
is.
That was the thing that jumped out at me too, because I guess your favorite track on
Please Don't Cut My Wings.
Please Don't Cut My Wings
from Burning Desire.
Burning Desire. Is that album. I mean, that song's like heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. It's a very introspective and deep work. Yeah. And you get a bit more of that braggadocio. You get a bit more of that celebratory kind of sound going on with this album. One thing I think is very cool is that
I Millie Rock when I saw the Deposit hit. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
as while the drums are very trappy, like the actual textures and the sampling of the album, pretty quintessential Mike.
Yeah.
Tony Seltzer has been doing this sound, and I think this is why this trilogy or this triumvirate of artists with Wiki works as well as it does, because Tony Seltzer obviously has like a strong understanding and skill set when it comes to this style of people we talk about the drumless and the neo boom bap and stuff like that. This is not that, but at the same time it does share a lot of those kind of qualities and a lot of the DNA of that sound that Mike is very much a pioneer of.
It's not even like at times on this album I was like, if this was more towards that trappy sound, the drums could go harder.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like 100 Gex, which I never heard a 100 Gex song, I don't think. Maybe I heard it while I was out and didn't know. I don't know that. I don't know what a single Gex is, bro. Like, I think maybe, I'm just not tapped in with a lot of, like, newer popular culture. I'm a hip-hop guy, and even then I'd be like, yo, who's Tony Seltzer? You know what I mean? But like, even on 100 Gex, I was like, yo, that could go harder.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
there was a lot of points on this album where I was like, because the way it comes in with Two Door, the pocket that he finds off that beat is like fire to me. And I was like, yo, this shit is hard as fuck. I hope the album is maintaining kind of this kind of trajectory. But throughout the album, it kind of ebbs and flows and gets away from that. Like I said, Skur is a pretty recognizable flip, but it doesn't come across as the descriptor trappy.
No.
Would feel. There's a lot of songs on this that don't sound like that. I think maybe the most pronounced one that feels towards that is maybe Underground Kings, which is maybe my favorite song on the album. Yeah. And I've got things to say about all the tracks. We've got some features on here from Earl, a longtime collaborator, and Earl's a huge champion of Mike. And some people might say that Earl leaned into the same type of lane that Mike was carving out along the side with cats like Standing on a Corner. But Earl recently was asked on a thing with Alchemist. I saw a clip. He's like, who's the best, greatest MC? And he's like, Mike. Yeah. And I feel that. But he's on this. Who else? We got Jay Critch. We got Neonte. We've also got Tony Snow. Is that it?
Is that not just Tony Seltzer?
That's what I thought, too.
Oh,
but,
we got Tony Snow.
Schnow?
I don't know if that's... Yeah.
I was thinking Snow.
But maybe.
Yeah. But the features and... The features and the texture on this album are pretty interesting, and it's a short listen. I love several tracks. On God, which is the joint with Earl and Tony Snow, it's dope to me. It starts off with like your typical kind of like conspiratorial anti-government joint. Stop selling them phones is wired to the federal government. And I don't know why even though that's not necessarily the direction I critique the government in, I was like, yeah. Let me order my new shit though. Let me get a new phone. But I love Mike's verse on that. The way he starts off, like I sent it to my nephew K-Rock, shout out Rock. And Rock was like, this nigga is so lazy with the flow, but he gets off. Yeah. And I like the way that Mike verse starts.
He uses his assonance rather than using like the rhythmic complexities. Like he always he finds his pocket and then he'll go up and and he's very, very good at like forming a rhythm with melody.
Yeah. But also he got kind of like one of those voices that's like kind of deeper, and he in some of the times with his enunciation of words, it's like he got one of like mega tongues. It's like too big for his mouth, so it sounds a little bit like marble mouth type of shit. Yep. When he started off that verse, on my first listen, I was like, oh shit, is he on his Dean? Is he speaking is like that Arabic? What did he say?
Right.
He on and off hajad, and I was like, wait a second, but nah, he's saying on and off hydraulic. It's just the way that his voice kind of is like has this molasses type of quality that sticks weird until you actually know the word, and then it stands out perfectly. But on that song, he is getting towards the idea of just like I'm happy. I Millie Rock when I saw the Deposit. I worked so hard. I'm enjoying it now, and that's kind of what I got from this album more than anything. That on this album, there's less of the skits from his sister or talking about his mother. There's less of the kind of interpersonal, like, I struggle a bit, but I'm trying my best. I still smoke a tree. On this, a lot of it is just like, yo, my nigga, we having a really great time. We working hard for it. He's still got his eye on the prize, but let's have some, you know what I mean? Let's have a little bit more fun with this one. And that's why I like it. I really do like this album a lot. Why you always by the rim but you not scoring? I got thunder in the spliff sound like God snoring. He's still dope as fuck. The raps is good. I didn't make a lot of notes on it this time because while I thought that there were some lyrical moments for Mike, a lot of it is not single couplets or bars like that. I like the kind of whole emphasis that he puts on a flow and those little twists and changes that kind of pique your ear and make him kind of meld into the beat. But yeah, I don't know how much more I got to say about this album.
I will, as penance for not knowing who Tony Schnau or Tony Schno is. He released an album on Thursday called Out of the Woods. It's 20 tracks.
So that was him? I thought that was Tupac with Young. Like, hold on. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, he's a light-skinned dude. Yeah, he just released an album. So
Tony Schnau. I mean, he dope on it. I was like, you dope on it. In fact, I like his verse better than Earl, and I love Earl shit. But yeah, he gets off on it, and I enjoy that a lot. Tony, I think it's Snow. I can't imagine a Schnau.
What?
You know what I mean? But yeah, I like that shit a lot. Underground Kings is amazing, bro. Underground Kings is amazing. Jay Critch is fucking amazing on this, and Neonte too. I know, like in the past, I've said like I'm not like I don't really know Neonte that well. I'm not really on board with him yet, but he comes out and he sounds good. He sounds good with Mike, and I appreciate that shit too.
Yeah, sounds like they were having a lot of fun putting this one together. I don't know if like they set out in the same way of Beware the Monkey or Disco or Burning Desire to like make a very complete conceptual album. Yeah. Maybe they did. I don't know. I probably need to sit with it a bit longer because like most of Mike's work needs to be sat with. But this album is like just kind of dope across the board. Like very, very competent in like every facet, real sum of its parts type record. Gesamt Kunstwerk.
I kind of like the crossover accessibility to it, but at times I did really think that I would have liked to see it go a little bit harder in that direction, just to do it, you know. But you know, Mike's got a vision for his art, and I think that this is another one that sits well within his body of work and his catalog. For me, full on, still a supporter, still really enjoy Mike for the reason I do. This album, I think it's got a few too many songs for me to really say that it's one of my favorite of the year, but it does have some songs on here that I absolutely love. My favorites on the album are Underground Kings, On God, and Two Door, and maybe Reminiscing. But yeah, I really fuck with this.
Okay, yeah,
it's at the bottom of my Mike list currently, though.
I've also got On God, Underground Kings, and 2K24 Tour with Neonte.
Okay, that beat is dope. That beat is super dope. I don't. For those in the comments, I don't need to know anything about 100 Gex. I like the song, all right, but this shit right here, this might be my little, spring coming up. I might have to play this one all the way through the summer because this shit just. It feel good. I'm a 40-year-old father and shit now. And sometimes when I be out with the cast to get a little bit more wavy, when I be with you and your ilk, a little bit younger, 10 years, 15 years younger than me, like that, the 25 to 32 type of age brackets. Sometimes when I see AV and them kind of turning up, I'll be like, I'm not exactly on the page. I came from a time where it was like when I was b-boying, and of course you go to the club where it was playing music. We weren't breaking in the club, we was breaking at the functions. And then also when I would go to the club, when we was West Coast, it was like you can't just be in there having fun. You had to kind of stand on the wall and make sure you're not about to fight somebody downtown. Like,
you turned into a real curmudgeon when you came and kicked it with the homies the other day when you were singing karaoke.
I was like, what is this? Yeah, I like, but y'all is incredible, and I'm really, that's a lot of my upbringing. Like, I'm used to standing on the wall a little bit, making sure that things is safe, and not really turning up in the club like that. And when I was in Texas, man, it was square dancing and doing all types of shit like that. And I was like, bro, I'm not a part of this part of the culture. But this made me feel like I could, I feel alright.
Can even play a Mike out like a Mike track while DJing and not scare people off the dance floor.
Yeah, true that.
Because I be DJing in front of Japanese people. You know, like I don't. The hip hop clubs don't invite me like that.
Yeah.
So I'll be DJing in front of Japanese people, and some
honest,
of the stuff I'm playing, it clears the floor
hip hop
out.
clubs don't be inviting black folks, bruh.
What?
I've heard about black folks trying to go to some of these big clubs, and I'm not gonna call any out by name because we've done that in the past, and also they've tried to reconcile those things, especially during Black Lives Matter, where we was really putting a finger on their chest. Again, shout out to my man Brooklyn Terry, but like, you know, like there's been times they turn black folks around, like you ain't allowed to be in this club, even though everybody inside is dressed like they fell out of a Source magazine from a variety of decades, and they all listen to the trap music.
And you named your club after a borough of New York. Hint,
Oh,
hint.
word, life. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Hold on, man. Mike is ill. That's it for us, I think.
Yeah,
Hey,
shouts
we got a
out
favorite song?
friends. Yeah, I did my favorites. Like friends are on the screen right
Yeah.
now. Patreons. Yeah, we love you guys. Maybe you love us too, or maybe you don't. Caltrops
out.
Press says that you do. Leave us a like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit, or don't. We don't really care like that.